Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose. And well, what do you know? Those Switch Successor rumors are indeed back, and actually even stronger than maybe even before. A new leak indeed did pop up online that's proven to be quite accurate, and not only does it signify a possible Switch Successor, but also another trusted insider seemingly is hearing similar things. So there is an actual cause to believe that this could actually be true. Also, Xbox just refuted a very strange rumor that's been making the rounds online as of recent, and I mean, I don't know anymore. They just have to keep repeating things, I guess, but we'll just go ahead and get into that a little bit later on as well. As usual, though, we do have a lot of things to talk about today. Do check those timestamps below if you want to skip around, though I kind of argue you might miss some other interesting topics. But hey, nonetheless, without a further ado, let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with one of, if not the very best, Xbox Series S deal to date. Now, there's no guarantee this discount will still be up by the time you watch this video, but I wanted to go and give everybody a heads up just in case, because the Xbox Series S, as of the making of this video, is going for a low $150. Yeah, that is an absolute steal for a next-generation platform like this, though there is a catch here. This is a Verizon deal for the United States so long as supplies last, which means technically you do need to have a Verizon Up account. Now, if you do, you can simply click the link that was shared by Wario, log in, and get your code for the discount. Don't worry, I'll drop a link in the description below, but hang on, even if you don't have a Verizon account, you can actually still get access to this discount so long as somebody is willing to share a promo code with you. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and drop another link in the description to Slick Deals. There's a huge forum post on there where people are sharing codes, and I did confirm this myself. If a code isn't working, you can simply change the last two digits, and if you're lucky, that might then work. So as an example, let's go and say the last two numbers are 67. Well, then just go ahead and change it to something like 65 and see if it then works. Now, there's still no guarantee with that, but hey, you can go and try your luck and see what happens. I mean, if you have a kid as an example, the Xbox Series S is a great device for parents to pick up. Or hey, if you just want a cheap and affordable Game Pass machine, well, go ahead, because this is probably going to be one of the best discounts that you can get all generation. Moving on, though, Final Fantasy 16 previews are rolling out now, which, I mean, if you think about it, this just kind of shows you how confident Square Enix is when it comes to this particular game. Seriously, its official release is still 3 full months away. So I think that alone is just kind of telling of the situation here, but if you want more confirmation about its quality, there's plenty of previews out there right now. Definitely go check those out if you want, but a few interesting details have come forth because of its recent coverage. One of which is its timed exclusivity situation. We do know for an absolute fact this is a timed 6-month exclusive, and then it will be free to release on PC. However, the Final Fantasy 16 producer further clarified this situation with a rather straightforward response by saying, first of all, it is true that Final Fantasy 16 is a 6-month limited time exclusive on the PlayStation 5 platform. However, it is a completely different story that the PC version will be released in half a year. I will make it clear, but the PC version will not come out in half a year. I would like to release it eventually, and I think it will, but I am not at that stage where I can say when. So there's once again your further confirmation of its timed exclusivity if there was any doubt there, but at the same time, it also sounds like you might not want to necessarily hold your breath for that PC version. It does sound like that it will eventually happen, just not necessarily in 6 months as some were hoping. Now, the reason for this is because it sounds like Square Enix, for the time being at the very least, has all hands on deck for that PlayStation 5 version. They specifically have their focus on optimizing for the PlayStation 5, and in fact, they also revealed that they've had help from Sony engineers on its development, helping out with its optimization, which apparently is one reason that they signed a timed exclusive contract in the first place. I thought that was particularly very interesting, but yes, Sony has actually been helping out with the development for Final Fantasy 16. This is something they've been doing with several developers as of recent, including Callisto Protocol. So Sony seems to be offering help for multiple third-party studios for different types of contracts. Now, we also got an update on the Metroid Prime Remastered situation. This has been a strange launch, to say the least, and that includes its physical release. It seems like they were just completely unprepared. Not only did the physical version release later than the digital version, but for consumers that held out to get that physical box copy, well, The thing is that it's been very difficult to track this game down. I mean, places like Amazon has delayed their shipment by more than a month, while other places only seemingly ordered enough copies to fulfill pre-orders and nothing else. Now, I have heard that Walmart has been a decent place to find copies if you just go to the store, but yeah, it's been tough to find this game unless, of course, you look over on eBay where people are selling it at a premium price on the secondhand market. Before you do all that, though, I do come bearing good news today because Nintendo has now issued a statement claiming that they promise they'll meet the strong demand for Metroid Prime Remastered. So, there you go. Just be a little patient when it comes to this game, and retailers will surely get more stock later on down the road, hopefully sooner rather than later. Now, speaking of Nintendo, let's just go and jump into our big topic of the day, and that's about, once again, yes, an eventual Switch successor. Yeah, I know. I feel like anytime we hear about the Switch successor, there's that very obvious, we need to take this with a grain of salt. And of course, you need to do that with today's rumor as well. We've been burned on this topic quite a bit in the past, including with the Switch Pro, but there's actually some very interesting things that's popped up over the last couple days regarding a new Switch console that could actually be a very, very big deal, all things considered. Now, will this be a Switch successor, a Switch Pro, or something completely different? We'll come back to that here in just a second, but there's two parts to the story. First is a random leak on 4chan. And I mean, yeah, immediately when you hear 4chan is involved, some red flags automatically get raised. I get you. I completely get you there. You have to question it right away. Though, at the same time, to be fair, there have been times where 4chan leaks has been completely 100% true. And that's the thing, because right now that does appear to be the case here. This was just discovered, but some random 4chan post on February 24th pretty much completely leaked the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet expansion, which was revealed 3 days later. This post reads, "I am a programmer at a Pokemon outsourcing company. My English is very poor, so I use machine translation to complete this post. The theme of the DLC is Hidden Treasure of Area Zero and Hexagon. Version 1.2.0 includes dressable clothes as a reward for DLC purchasers. We'll include several Pokemon that I can't pronounce, including a Paradox Suicune and a Paradox Virizion. There's some other things as well. There's a new terrestrial appearance. And then they go on to say the third legendary Pokemon is a large blue turtle. Then lastly, they say we are working on a graphics enhancement patch for the new Nintendo Switch models that will be released alongside DLC 2. So, if you watch the recent Pokemon Presents, or if you've been following Pokemon news as of recent, you'd probably know all of this information is actually correct. This user got the title of the expansion correct. They leaked the specific Pokemon that was just announced and what they looked like. And everything about this post seemingly is accurate, except for one single thing. The mention of a graphics enhancement that will release alongside new Switch models in DLC 2 for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, the second part of the expansion is set to release in the winter, which technically means it could either release in late 2023 or early 2024. There's no exact release date as of this moment, but according to this leak, that means that a new Switch console is set for around the same time frame. Hey, I mean, I guess if you can't fix Pokemon with a performance patch, we can just brute force it, I suppose. Nonetheless, though, I will say this leak doesn't specifically call it a Switch successor. Now, they're using some kind of translator, so I mean, there might be some translation issues here, but you can kind of make an argument that this leak could be pointing to something else. A Switch Pro, if you will, or just a new limited edition themed console. We've seen Nintendo release several of those, but I mean, at the same time, they've already released a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Switch OLED, so why do that again? But nonetheless, considering they are specifically talking about a graphics enhancement here, it does seem like that it's talking about, at the very least, a more powerful Switch than what we currently have. Which, I mean, to be honest, that's really all we want in the first place. It seems like when it comes to most of us don't want a vastly different console like Nintendo has done in the past. But instead, just a more powerful Switch. That's all we want, Nintendo. You don't have to go overboard with all the gimmicks and this, that, and the other. Just make it a more powerful Switch. Now, with all that said, though, I wasn't originally going to talk about this leak because even though it's accurate with the Pokemon stuff, it's still going to be cautious. But, and this is when I decided this might be worth discussing, because the often leaky Jeff Grubb once again I mean, because why not? Cracked open, as he too mentioned, he has heard that Nintendo might make an announcement for a Switch successor in late 2023. He, however, has been very adamant that he can't verify this information and that it's just a rumor of a rumor, so just down and take that as you will. This is certainly not confirmation, but this is just more information that does kind of point to a soonish announcement. First, you have this 4chan leak, which so far has proven to be very accurate. Jeff Grubb, he's hearing about an announcement, and I mean, he has proven to be a very good insider in the past. And then there's also those claims that was made earlier this year that Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be the last major Switch release. So when you think about all of that, maybe all of this is just kind of coming together here for a big Switch successor announcement. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Are you buying the rumors or not? Let's go talk about Xbox, though, because Xbox Phil Spencer has been making the rounds with some interviews over the last couple of days. Really, he's always such a good interviewee, so I do recommend checking the interview out yourself. But with the Activision Blizzard acquisition looming, he was obviously asked about the buyout. I actually get a little tired hearing about this sometime, but he once again was asked about Call of Duty exclusivity. I mean, apparently everybody needs to ask him about this, and for the 1000th time, he reconfirmed that Call of Duty will remain multi-platform if the acquisition goes through, including, yes, content parity. Really, this isn't news at all. I mean, we've been hearing about this since day one, but, you know, the reason he has to keep repeating this is because it seems like Sony and regulators can't really get it through their head. Call of Duty will remain multi-platform. So there you go. Big news, I guess. The other part about this story, though, is a little bit more on a strange side of things, because recently there's been some speculation that if the Activision Blizzard buyout fails, then Microsoft will then bow out of gaming and sell off Xbox. Phil Spencer, however, has since refuted that notion when asked by The Times by responding, "This is an important acquisition for us. It's not some linchpin to the long term. Xbox will exist if this deal doesn't go through." Even with that response, though, Andy Robinson on VGC continued to push the narrative by saying, "Regardless of Spencer's words, I know a lot of industry pundits think Microsoft selling off Xbox is a genuine possibility should this be blocked. I still expect it to go through with concessions." So you got a little bit of a back and forth here that's creating quite a stir online, though I think my issue with this response is that it offers very little to the overall narrative. It almost comes off like speculation from the background that will cause concern for the sake of concern, rather than actually knowing where all of this is coming from. Whereas Phil Spencer, I mean, you're talking about the ex-boss himself, is saying, yeah, you don't need to worry about that. And in fact, I think that if you just kind of use common sense here, it's unlikely that Microsoft would bow out of gaming. The fact that they're trying to acquire a publisher for $69 billion, I think that just kind of tells you what type of commitment they have for gaming. It shows you their desire to be in gaming, not away from it. More so, they've recently acquired Bethesda. They've acquired Playground Games, Obsidian Entertainment, Ninja Theory, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on. That doesn't really seem like a company that's hesitant on gaming. It seems like they want to expand, not go away. And truthfully, we still haven't even seen the fruits of those original acquisitions. I think that if anything, you'd want to wait and see how those acquisitions pay off. I mean, on one side, I get it. Investors, they're going to be angry if the Activision Blizzard acquisition fails. But in reality, I think Microsoft will just kind of continue on and buy up other studios instead. They just might maybe, target smaller companies rather than one of the largest publishers in the world. Now, that's even if this fails. I mean, we still don't really know what's going to happen. But either way, for the time being, Phil Spencer said it himself. The Activision Blizzard acquisition isn't some linchpin for Xbox. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, with the 3DS and the Wii U eShops closing later this month, are you going to make any last-minute purchases? And as you can see here, most of you, all being 70%, said no, while 11% said yes, and then the other 11% said maybe need to look around more. So about 22% in total could possibly buy a 3DS or Wii U game sometime this month, which is actually, that's a pretty good portion for consoles as old as these. It really does go to show you that there's a lot of people out there that are still interested in getting a few 3DS or Wii U games on that digital storefront, and actually for good reason. Not only do these consoles have some good games, especially with the 3DS, but there are games that are not only exclusive to the eShop that you just can't buy physically, but on top of that, a lot of these physical games are now dramatically increasing in price. I actually made a video about this last weekend. You can go check that out, but there's a lot of games out there that's just really, really expensive now if you want to get them on the secondhand market, including something like Dragon Quest VIII. I think Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy, if you want to buy that on eBay, I believe it's like $200+. So, I mean, there's some really expensive physical games out there, and if you want to get these games before they're too late, you might want to look at that digital storefront or purchase them while they're a little bit on the cheaper side before they really shoot up in price. Again, I do have a video on this, so go check out my top 30 3DS list from last weekend. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.